Destination Mark.
Hey guys, how's it going? Marcel here, and E3 is still right around the corner. So, there has been so much stuff recently that's come out for Spyro, not just from Toys for Bob or the official Twitter, but from Activision and IGN and was it GameSpot? Not GameSpot. Game Informer. So a lot of stuff. Concept art. They tease an art gallery, and we'll talk about all this stuff in this list. Gameplay, actual gameplay, and this gameplay does actually impact it did impact the list. How I'm going to go about talking about this list, because I came up with the list before they dropped any kind of gameplay. So I'm gonna take the gameplay into consideration while reiterating the. I haven't changed the points or anything like that. I'm still gonna talk about these are still my hopes, but we will see how it plays out when we actually experience it. And they gotta have it at E3. I can't say when yet because they haven't definitively been like Spyro will have a demo at E3. But at this point, they've got to. So we'll see what happens with that. But without further ado, yeah, these are the top 5 hopes for Reignited Trilogy. So let's go. Okay, so number 5 is the music. Hopefully it stays as faithful as possible, and what a coincidence, they've Toys for Bob have come out and said that they are really trying to keep the music, you know, note for note, the way it's, you know, supposed to go, the way we know how it sounds from back then. Again, you can hear this already in the gameplay snippets. There's all the sound effects and stuff playing over it, but you can still hear bits of Stonehill that you couldn't hear from the first official trailer, the reveal trailer. And then still with that PS4 theme, we've got just that little bit of Dark Hollow. So I've said this before with Crash and Insane Trilogy, and I'm going to reiterate it here, is that when I first heard these two tracks, this is the only music we've heard so far for Reignited Trilogy. So, oh, I lost my train of thought. Jesus Christ, I'm bad at these videos. So, basically, I looked at this and I heard these tracks and I'm like, okay, I'm sensing some insane earliness syndrome here, I guess we can call it, where it sounds good, sounds great, it's awesome and it's here, but it sounds early, like it's not quite hitting where we know it could be. So I'm not trying to say it's not up to my expectations, but it's like, you can do a little bit better with it because it's still early, and Toys for Bob knows this because everything they've shown off and stuff in the trailers and all that stuff, it's not looking the same in a good way. It's looking way more improved. So I hope that they take those kinds of steps and strides with the music as well. Back to Ensign as well, not just with how early stuff might sound, but the fact that the instrumentation is a bit different in certain tracks. It depends on the track throughout all 3 games. Sometimes you get Toxic Waste where it sounds different, but it still hits that feel that you know they were going for back then. And then you get your rocket levels from Crash 2, which the Insane sounds just like the originals, but improved, like modern and cleaner and awesome. And then you get Sunset. I'm always going to go to Sunset Vista in Crash 1, where it just sounds way too empty. It's only like a few instruments, not as much ambient background noises that are part of the track, and it just feels kind of bland in a way. So with Reignited Trilogy, going back to the topic, I kind of got the Sunset Vista vibe from Dark Hollow a little bit, because I went back later after I downloaded the PS4 theme and I went back and heard the original Dark Hollow, and there's some background, you know, kind of just ambient, not even sounds, they're just like little melodies in the background that you need, you know, to just hear them. And when you hear them, it's like, okay, it sounds like a full track, like there's a lot of layers to it. And with what we've got in this, again, preview in the PS4 theme for Reignited Trilogy, it sounds very simple and basic. So hopefully they go back and again, it could be just like an earlier version of the song. And I've said before, link down below, specifically, well, to the timestamp. I guess for the sake of this, I'll give the timestamp out in the description below, but it won't be timestamped there already in the link. When Josh Gaming and I talked about Insane during our playthrough on vid games of Spyro the Dragonfly, I mentioned that Crash's music for Insane, some bits and pieces and some tracks here and there did change in-game. So there's that. So hopefully something like that happens with Reignited Trilogy. We've only heard 2 songs, so it's very early. I just felt like mentioning it because I don't want them to kind of retread kind of what Vivi did with Crash's music in terms of the tracks that weren't as hyped and great sounding, I guess. So there's that. That's number 5. Okay, number 4 is visuals, and oh my god, this is where the gameplay comes into play here a little bit. So when we saw the first, the initial reveal trailer and all the pictures and stuff of like Stone Hill and everything, basically levels that were not Beastmakers from the trailer and everything, all pretty much looked like they were set during like the afternoon because of how the lighting was. As we all know, not all those levels are set during a sunset, so during the afternoon. So Stonehill kind of had that vibe going for it, the picture, I guess. And then another boom screenshot from the gameplay. It looks way more vibrant, way more like the actual level itself, and it looks really good. So they took their time, listened to the feedback, and were like, okay, so it's a little too sunsetty, the grass is a little too dry looking, we're just going to make it like super vibrant, and it matches. How they got it to match like that so fast is crazy. So my initial thing was, okay, so the realistic lighting in the same way that Crash had that, and we have to understand that it's 2 different companies, 2 different engines that these games are running on. So Crash was in Alchemy, this is in Unreal 4. So the approach they're taking with the art direction and the lighting and shading for Reignited does feel a lot more cartoony than Insane did, only because Insane, again, it comes down to the lighting, with the realistic lighting, because Insane had a very Skylanders-ish inspired, especially if you saw that this video, the developer build from 2015, where they ripped a lot of assets from Skylanders as the beginner's build to Insane, so there's that. In the end, even the art style, while still very much screaming Crash, you can tell, you could have dropped those assets at the trees and the totem poles and all that. You could drop that stuff into Insane, like in Crash's level. Skylanders into Crash's level and like Imaginators, and it would still fit. So it's inspired by that. Here, even though Spyro was in Skylanders and started that shit, it doesn't scream, to me, it doesn't scream Skylanders, the art style and everything. It still screams Spyro, but the only thing I think I did say on that was that because Spyro's not like super like detailed with like a bunch of scales and whatnot, he's not what we used to use, the render before finding out what he was going to look like in the actual trilogy. It's way more kind of blocky, but not too blocky. At first I said it reminded me of Skylanders, kind of, but then I said, well, it's actually more of like a polygonal throwback. Like, it kind of looks more like they're blocky, like from back then, kind of. In a way, I mean, I don't know if I'm even making sense with that, but essentially, with the lighting, going back to the topic, with the lighting, with the visuals, the colors, it all just feels like Spyro, and it's its own brand of cartoony that is different from Crash. So the 2 styles are easily distinguishable, and it's awesome. So that's cool. The main hope being that I hope they keep that up throughout all the levels, through all the games. So yeah. And this is the one where I hope they've got this demo here at E3, because number 3 is the gameplay. So we've seen, I'm not going to show it, fuck it. There's too much editing. I need to get this out as soon as possible as well. So with with gameplay, I'm hoping that it feels good. They said, Toys for Bob said, they've addressed all this, and I know they have. I'm still just reiterating the stuff I want to see and my hopes, damn it. But they have said that they want to keep it, and in hindsight, I'm glad that they're addressing this stuff, because they knew, I'm sure they've all played Insane, at least some of the main guys who are heading this project have played Insane, are probably fans of Crash as well as Spyro, and know that and know of the reception that we've been giving on Insane, and now they're taking kind of that into consideration for Reignited, because they're addressing a lot of the stuff that we've had concerns about, even from Insane, or even if Insane didn't even happen. What we would expect and hope to see for a Spyro Trilogy remake, they're like, okay, these are the things that need to be addressed. So with gameplay, they've said that they're trying to make it, kind of like Insane with VV, as close to the original as possible, and that the only thing that the player should feel different is how it looks, in terms of, okay, it's basically, they've said this, like, essentially it's the games you know that you've played, they just look better. So hopefully that means that they've gotten the arcs for jumping and gliding, all that crap, and his charge, his speed, and all that stuff, how the supercharge feels, all that kind of stuff, the flying and the flight levels and the speedways and all that. Hopefully it feels very much like it did, or if not like it did, then better. So, fluid. All I'm asking, see, okay, the hope for number 3 is fluid. I just want fluid controls. When we take a look at the gameplay, this is why I brought this up, it looks pretty fluid. So it looks like it moves. Spyro looks like he moves very well. And his run speed, while we didn't see a whole lot of it being used, it was more for legitimate charging than actually running around the level. It still looks good. So hopefully, if they've got this demo, I'm going to play it and I'm going to tell you how that is. So yeah, I'm just hoping that it's fluid above everything else. This is a long one, so I have to read this. Tweaking the gameplay elements for number 2 that deserve tweaking. Upping the challenge with Spyro 1 for how gems and collectibles are kept, and you know, once you collect them. Also, Game Informer quite a while back talked about new orb challenges for 2. So, however they're going to implement stuff like that will be very interesting to see. So I'm not going to speak a whole lot about how that might work. That's just more of a let's wait and see what happens kind of thing. But okay, so let me talk about this idea I had in my head. Hopefully I don't ramble on too long on this. For how collectibles should work to up the difficulty in Spyro 1, because a lot of people say the OG Spyro 1 is too easy. When you die, you keep your gems. When you game over, you keep your gems and all the dragons and the eggs. Really, the only thing you don't keep when you die or game over is the key. If there's a key in a level or a homeworld to a lockbox, that's it. That's the only thing you don't keep. So there's that. Okay, so my idea was, and mind you, this is without thinking about autosave. I'll play into that. I'll talk about that in a minute, how that plays into it. Maybe if you, because they're probably still going to have the quit level option, and when you quit a level, mid-level, you'll still keep whatever gems you earned. So the game was very forgiving in that regard of having you keep your collectibles, so it doesn't get too aggravating to have to recollect everything. However, there doesn't leave much replayability besides that. So what I thought would be interesting would be to just, if you exit a level early thinking you can cheese it that way, hopefully there could be some developer foresight to where the gems reset and the dragons and eggs. If you don't exit through the actual level end gate portal, then everything will end up resetting if you quit out or you don't save it or whatever else. So I'm wondering if they're going to pull a Spyro 2 and 3, even though it's a book, you know, technically for the pause menu, but still have a save game option within the options when you pause for Spyro 1. Because the only way to really save in Spyro 1 is to step over a dragonfly that you've already rescued and then save your game there. But I'm wondering if they're going to do it where you can pause. I don't really know, because at that point, if you like pause, that actually just popped in my head right now. So like, I don't know if they have that built into the pause menu for 1, and then you freaking save the game mid-level. Do you keep them then? Like, that's something I'm just asking myself because it's something that just popped into my head. And then there's autosave, where I'm pretty sure like every dragon you rescue is gonna have it saved right there. So I'm not really sure how that'll work. It's something I wanted to have addressed from back when this was first announced, or even back when we were coming up with ideas for how this would work before Reignited was revealed. So it's still something to consider if Toys for Bob can pull it off, you know, giving us a little bit of challenge, not by adding stuff to Spyro 1, but to making sure there's a more clever way for us to stick to collecting the collectibles the way they have to be collected, and not cheese it by exiting out of the level mid-level and still keeping all our crap. Or when you die and you still get to keep everything, or game over and like you just, the only penalty, my god, is to just get booted back to the beginning of the homeworld. The only real penalty there is having to go back into the level and pick up right where you left off, but everything you still get to keep. So I understand why people say the difficulty of Spyro 1 comes from the platforming and exploration, not collecting things. Unless, well, trying to find where that stuff is adds the challenge, but actually going about collecting everything is not that hard in Spyro 1. So if there's a way to do that, then that'd be cool. Again, tweaks, basically being mechanics like, you know, controls, Agent 9 and 3. Everyone keeps talking about the boxing from Bentley's boxing in 3. Stuff like that, little control dealios like that need tweaking. Of course, go ahead and tweak that. But yeah, that's about it. So, challenge and shit. So of course, the number one thing, which it seems like they're not doing, thank God, from what we've been seeing so far, is that I hope, above all else, that Toys for Bob does not rush this. Hopefully, when it comes out in September, it feels complete. It doesn't feel like, okay, so the controls we're just going to kind of tweak and then leave them. And don't worry, we'll do it later. Like, no, don't do that shit. I know that Toys for Bob and VV don't have much of a rep for patches in that regard, at least as far as my memory goes. So I don't know if they've done that with Skylanders or something. I don't fucking know. Okay, but like, that is pretty much a no-no for Spyro. Just don't do that. Think that you can kind of tweak. It goes back to number 2. Kind of tweaking what you want to, or you feel that the fans want to have tweaked, but then don't really fully implement the tweak well. It's in the same way as the jump arc and whatever from Insane. Like when you do it, but you don't consider how it's going to change the level design, or how spaced apart platforms and enemies and things that you have to jump on are placed. It can screw up the gameplay a little bit in terms of trying to do things like the way you were trying to in the originals, and you just can't. That's the basis of people's complaints from Insane. We don't need a repeat of that in here. So, don't rush it. From what we've been seeing so far, even from the reveal trailer alone, it does not look like they're just like, okay, here's your shut up about Spyro, we're gonna go back to Skylanders, here's your fucking little Spyro the Dragon thing. Like, no, it feels like they're really on board. They've been teasing the damn project. If I can find a screenshot or some shit, they made a video about their studio and they had pictures and shit all over about, look, we've been doing this in the background, and we didn't fully take out the teases of the concept art and shit. You can see it in the background. So they've been working on this for a while, and they know what they're doing, and all the fact that they're staying up to date with us, directly with us via Twitter with concept art, GIFs of some gameplay, actual gameplay now. It's all leading up to hopefully this big ol' gameplay bucket of here's your demo for E3. I'm set to go. If that's what, and all the other Spyro fans that are going to be there too at E3 are going to have a blast. These are just my hopes for, you know, again, a lot of these hopes have already been addressed with certain things, with even just showing the gameplay and stuff. Some of them have been addressed. Stuff like gameplay I'm still waiting on, so we'll see what happens with all that, and it's going to be awesome. So that's my list. What do you guys think? What are your hopes for Reignited Trilogy? Do you have concerns, worries, whatever else? Obviously keep them nice to me and others down in the comments. Don't start flame wars. I shouldn't have to be addressing this anymore because Spyro and Skylanders are now coexisting. They've been talking about the mobile game, and we've got Reignited Trilogy, so there you go. What I've been wanting to happen is happening. Spyro the Dragon's getting his brand back, and he's still in Skylanders, and they're still doing some things. Not as heavily and as strong as they used to, but honestly, they did need a break. So there they are, they're coexisting, and that's awesome. So those who enjoy this can enjoy this. Us who want this are going to have this, and we're going to enjoy it as well. I'm done talking. What do you guys think of all this? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm Marcelo. See you guys later. Get hyped for E3. I am, and take care.